Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. This is Tracy Murda on behalf of Richard Jacobs here at Future Tech Podcast. And today I am very excited to have a special guest, Justin Leow, Head of Business Operations at Coins.ph. Justin, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time today.
Happy to be here, Tracy.
So why don't we just jump right in? Give me some background information on yourself and the company and how you got started with blockchain technology.
Okay, sure. Well, for myself, I actually came from a very different industry before jumping into blockchain technology. Actually, I was working at a high-frequency trading firm out of Chicago, and then prior to that, I was doing electrical engineering in Cornell. So quite an interesting journey so far. Basically moved out here into the Philippines about a year and a half ago, looking to jump into tech, looking to jump into startups, and actually specifically looking for problems to solve that could have a wide social impact. It just so happened that blockchain happens to be the technology that underlies all that, and the opportunity was in Southeast Asia, specifically here in the Philippines, but also in many other developing countries in the region.
So tell us about your company, Coins.ph. How does the platform work? How did it get started? I mean, I'm sure there has to be, so much that goes into starting something like this, especially in an area in technology that hasn't yet been, fully explored.
So in general, like the system is built on blockchain, right? All the transactions on the system are actually blockchain transactions. Some are public, some are private, but they're all recorded there, so that obviously there's like unchangeable record of what everyone has done on the system, what services they've used, if they've transferred money into or out of their wallets to outside blockchain addresses. The interesting thing is that actually the Peso wallet is also a blockchain wallet, but that's transparent to the user. If I send some amount of Bitcoin to the Peso wallet, it actually gets instantly converted to pesos. So that's a pretty cool feature because obviously when people are looking to receive a specific amount, right, from a person with a Bitcoin wallet. Usually the trouble is like, oh, you sent me this amount of Bitcoin, like, okay, I better convert it to fiat straight away or soon, otherwise it's going to change in value and I might have more or less than what I want to get. If I sent it to, if someone receives money in their Peso wallet, then actually that conversion happens straight away, and we're able to do that because we're the exchange. And for remittances specifically, those obviously people are looking to convert from Bitcoin to Peso, right? They're sending using Bitcoin, and they're sending that from country A to the Philippines, and then once and obviously they're looking to usually send it to a recipient, either that has a bank account or is looking to figure it out at a remittance center, and so that conversion from Bitcoin to Peso is handled by us as well. Through our business customer accounts. So Coins.ph was started actually with a very interesting realization. In the Philippines, there are actually more Facebook accounts than bank accounts. So that tells you two things, right? Number one, the gap in financial services in the country is actually very big. And actually, the reality is that only about 20% of the population here have access to traditional or formal banking services as you would typically know them. which means that the other 80% are left basically using primarily cash. And obviously when you use cash only, then you are restricted in the services that you have access to. I mentioned the Facebook part because that's interesting because it also means that a very large proportion of the country has access to the internet and mobile devices. So I think the latest stats from Facebook is now 52 million monthly actives just on mobile devices alone. So mobile penetration and specifically smartphone penetration is increasing very rapidly in countries like the Philippines, which means that actually for the first time you're actually able to offer services and anything really directly to the customer without relying on any physical infrastructure for distributing your services, right? So this is really a great opportunity for someone like us to come in because it means that we can actually create a platform on which people can access the services that they are pretty much lacking when it comes to just having to use cash all the time. So Coins.ph is on the platform. We offer access to the services. We have an app that you can download for free, or you can visit our website. But basically, we connect people with financial services, and when the services we're talking about are actually really really basic things that you would use every day. Simple things like topping up your prepaid phone card, which is about 95% of the country's mobile phone plan is prepaid, paying your bills, sending money to other bank accounts, which actually is not a trivial undertaking in this country, and doing things like also shopping online with a virtual Visa card. We are making a place where people can have their money online in a mobile wallet where they can access all the things that they need to do on a daily basis. And to do this, we actually partner with most of the major banks, remittance networks, mobile wallets, and convenience stores in the country so that no matter where you are, there's actually a convenient place for you to physically take your cash, make a deposit or withdrawal from our system. Combined, we have over 22,000 outlets between all of our partners where someone is able to do that.
So this sounds pretty incredible. What are, if there are any, what are some of the limitations?
So for us, the services that we provide are all partnerships, so mostly partnerships with third-party service providers, right? So the limitation is really time, and actually being able to form those partnerships and actually offer them to our users. Obviously, the need is very great, and every time we roll out when we roll out new products, actually, they're actually received fairly well because you're not talking about going from a service to a better service, but you're really talking about going from 0 to 1, right? You're going from cash to being able to do things from on your phone. And so that's one thing, right? That part's on our end, which is actually why we're trying to move as quickly as we can. And talking about physical distribution, I think we're at a pretty good point right now. Obviously, the more ways we can do that, the better. The cheaper that we can do that, also the better. And then the last part is really just education, right? Getting ourselves out there in front of the customer, showing that, hey, there's this new thing, there's this new technology out there that lives on your phone. It could save you hours of your time every single day doing things that you would otherwise be spending doing things manually. And this is how you use it, and this is how it works. And we're talking. I would say for the large proportion of our user base, we're talking about millennials, people that are used to using smartphone apps. Facebook and Instagram are extremely popular in this country. Actually, this country is like the social media capital of the world. I think Filipinos spend inordinate amount of time on social media compared to like the global average. So they're not unfamiliar with using smartphones, but many people are unfamiliar with using their cash online, right? And so this is kind of a mental hurdle of convincing someone to put their money in a place where they can't physically touch it anymore, right? And so the more ways that we can actually show them that there's this much better, much more convenient ways to do this, then I think that's the challenge. But I think we're making actually very good progress there. And if you look at our user reviews, once they get it and once they make that first transaction, then they raise money, which is actually really great.
So Justin, walk me through, I'm setting up an account. What do I need to do? How easy is this, or user-friendly? Is there any cost involved in having, my wallet or my account set up? What are sort of the general steps for someone to get started?
Sure. It's actually free to download and to sign up, so that part is extremely simple. And so the really first steps are just to download it. You sign up with either your email address or your phone number. And then after that, the only next step you need to do is to find a nearby location where you can make that first deposit into your account, right? So you can make it at a bank branch, you can make it at a remittance center, you can make it at a 7-Eleven. So we have places that you can do this extremely easily and often very quickly too. So quite a few of our outlets are instant, so you can actually go there, make a deposit, and it shows up in your account straight away. It's as simple as going, in the case of 7-Eleven, it's really as simple as going to the convenience store and handing over the cashier some money, showing them a barcode, they scan it, and then that money goes to your wallet straight away.
So is there any sort of minimum or maximum amount that can be used?
For us, no. So there's no minimum balance. There's no maintenance fees. We really want to make the services the main focus for people. So we want to reduce the friction as much as possible when it comes to getting people onto the platform, right? Obviously, when you're transacting within the platform, sending money to other users or other blockchain users, then those transactions are free for you.
So when it comes to the level, Justin, of being user-friendly, like let's take myself, for example. This is a new area. It's not something I'm totally comfortable with. Would you say that it's fairly easy for anyone to use, or do you need to have a little bit of a background in this area to understand it and start using it to get the full advantage of it?
No, so I would say that we built the app to be extremely simple to use, laid out in a way that makes it extremely clear at every step what the user should be doing, right? And the goal is to actually not have to handhold every single person that signs up, because that would obviously not be scalable, but really to make the process extremely smooth, extremely easy. The platform, even though being built on blockchain technology, actually is from the user's perspective, they don't have to interact with the I would say the more technical aspects of, say, Bitcoin, if they don't want to, right? Mm-hmm. For that reason, we've actually created 2 wallets for every single account. Every user has a Pesta wallet. Every user has a Bitcoin wallet. We launched the Pesta wallet, I would say, fairly quickly after starting, because we realized that it was an additional hurdle for people to come to grasp with, right? You're talking about people using their money online for the first time, and then all of a sudden there's this new Bitcoin concept that they also have to understand. So obviously you're going to only be able to reach kind of a niche audience that understands that technology. So when you're talking about the Tesla wallet, obviously that's something that everyone in this country knows about, right? And so 100 pesos that I put in ends up being 100 pesos that ends up in the wallet. That value doesn't change, and so that's a much more approachable idea. And then obviously, as I spend it, then everything's also denominated in pesos. Much easier for people to grasp and to use. And so I think that the technology is, I guess, it works in the background. I would say we use Bitcoin and blockchain more as a mechanism for transferring value and to be able to allow our users to use services on the Bitcoin blockchain, services such as, I think there's you can buy things on Amazon using Bitcoin through Purse.io. You can use Bitcoin to purchase hotels on Expedia. Lots of things you can use Bitcoin for. And obviously we also educate our customers on the different things that they can do.
And Justin, what about
sorry,
sure, go ahead.
In that description of the services, I completely forgot the remittance part, which is actually quite important, which is actually the primary use of our blockchain technology. So maybe if we went back and
please do.
At some point we can do that. We can do that later, just so we continue the flow. But I do want to mention that because that's a huge service.
Circle back to that right now. Well, one thing I was kind of wondering is, what about how is the security and well, I guess that would be it. How is the security with the app and with the transactions?
In general, I think okay, let's start again. So security for the transactions. So okay. So we make our users experience very secure, right? We take multiple measures on our end. Won't go through all of them in the tremendous amount of detail, but you're talking about things like encrypted connections, encrypted customer records, two-factor authentication for the users when they log in and they make transactions. And so from a technology perspective, I think the security on our app is actually pretty good. And obviously we also communicate with our users to best practices to keep their passwords secure and whatnot.
Okay, that makes sense, and it's pretty standard. I was just kind of curious as to, again, being someone who's maybe a novice in it, any sort of transaction or things in this arena that you're not familiar with is always a little bit scary.
Exactly, right, because people, when you're talking about sending your money, especially online, it's sort of like before you had cash, now you don't have cash. You see a number, and then that number, when you send money to someone else, the number changes, and then you're really hoping that the money reaches the destination. So the more ways, in reality, even though technically everything is working secure, a big point that we try to always keep in mind when designing this app for our users is actually give them as much visual information, right, to reassure them that that your money is on its way. This is the status of it. This is when it's going to be available for the recipient. And these things actually do a lot. It's actually it sounds very simple, but it actually does a lot for our users in actually building that trust that this this new platform that they're using actually is taking care of them properly.
Okay. So let's talk about the app remittance features. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So remittances, for those that aren't familiar, actually is a very huge part of the Philippine economy. Philippines is actually, and for those not familiar, remittances is basically overseas Philippine workers sending money back home on a regular basis to their families back in the Philippines. Philippines is pretty unique because it's actually number 3 in the world for remittances worldwide, right? And only behind China and India in terms of volume of remittances sent back. And so I think that number, I think the most recent number is about $26 billion every year being sent by overseas workers back to the Philippines to their families. And the unfortunate thing is with the traditional methods that overseas workers are paying about 7 to 8% to send money through outlets like Western Union. And another way to think about 7 to 8% fees on all your transactions is actually about 1 month of every year that you're working overseas is just disappearing in fees, right? So obviously there's a much better way to do this. The reason why these fees are so expensive is because there's a ton of middlemen going from point A to point B from whatever country that you're sending the money from to the Philippines. Everyone wants to take their own fee. And this is where it gets very exciting to use the blockchain because all of a sudden you are taking a different route, right? The blockchain, one of the big advantages is that you can actually send money from point A to point B with 0 people in between and basically preserve the value of what's being sent much better than if you were sending it through a wire or the traditional transfer mechanism. So how that looks like for us is that we basically partner with people, companies in various countries around the world where they help the customers in their country be able to send money back home. When you do this, we take an example transaction, right? From a customer in Korea sending money to the Philippines. The customer does not need to know that blockchain Bitcoin exists, right? All they need to know is that there is a service that allows them to send money to the Philippines for a cheaper price than what they're normally able to do through the traditional mechanism. And so what happens for that customer is that they just hand over their funds to the service provider, and then we have integrations. So remittances is actually a very large component of the economy here in the Philippines. It actually accounts for about 10% of the GDP of the country, which is quite incredible if you think about it. Philippines comes in only third behind China and India when it comes to remittances. And these are overseas workers sending money back home to their families in the Philippines, about $26 billion every year. And the unfortunate thing is that people are currently paying about 7 to 8% in fees.
Oh, wow.
Remittances. Another way to think about that is actually 1 month of every year of salaries just disappearing in fees. And so one of the big things when we started Coins.ph was to try to figure out how we can make this process cheaper and quicker for people. And this is where blockchain technology actually becomes extremely useful because it offers an alternate route for people to send money that does not rely on the traditional banking system, which involves lots of middlemen and hence lots of fees to make any sort of cross-border transactions. So I can walk you through a simple example of how we make this happen. What we do is basically we're able to take Bitcoin sent through Coins.ph wallets and convert that to pesos. And so we are actually the largest Bitcoin exchange in the Philippines just by doing this alone. And for people in various countries around the world trying to send money back home, we actually partner with companies in those countries to offer them a very smooth transaction experience. So how this works is that, say if I was in Korea and I wanted to send money back to the Philippines, I would actually just go to one of our partner companies in that country and hand over my Korean won. And what I would see as a customer would be Korean won coming in, going to the company, and pesos coming out to whoever I'm trying to send it to. And the reason why they're able to see such a seamless end-to-end breakdown of the fees and the times involved is because these companies, which are often Bitcoin blockchain-based companies, they're integrated with our system. And so when a customer wants to make a remittance transaction, that company is able to query our system, and everything is available through APIs on our system. And so they can see what the fees are, what the transaction and what the times are in terms of when the money will be released to the recipient. And they also know exactly what rate they're going to get when they make that remittance transfer. We lock in the exchange rate for these people when they want to make a transaction, so they don't have to worry that when they send money, by the time it gets there, it's actually the amount of money that they've spent actually changes in value, right? So we actually guarantee that rate for them. And by doing this, we actually allow remittances to happen extremely cheaply and quickly. And the people that are sending the remittances don't need to know that Bitcoin or blockchain is involved at any step of the process at all.
And that was actually what I was going to ask you about, was that securing that exchange rate, how that all kind of breaks down.
Exactly. So yeah, the moment the transaction is initiated, they are guaranteed an exchange rate. They will know exactly how much money will come out. And really, that's you have. There's no way you can't do that, because obviously from the sender's perspective, why would I want to use a service where if I sent something, something very different came out at the other side that I was not expecting? And so we take it upon ourselves to guarantee that rate for you.
So Justin, tell me about any expansion plans that Coins.ph may have in the works.
Sure. So Coins.ph is obviously active in the Philippines. This is our first and main office, but we also have an operation in Thailand. And if you think about the problem that we're solving, the issue of financial services and countries where there's a big lack of, well, that's actually most of Southeast Asia. If you look at it, in Southeast Asia, only 40% of the population have access to traditional banking services. And so what that tells you is that there's a very big gap. And the reason for this gap and why it's so pervasive is that actually is the fact that traditional banking services, in the way that you typically know them, with bank branches everywhere, servicing customers, and people able to walk to a nearby bank branch wherever they are, that model doesn't work so well in developing countries, mainly because the cost of having a physical banking model is expensive, right? You need to have, obviously, the branch locations, but also employ people to man the location. You need to hire armored trucks to move money around, and so on and so forth, right? So such a distribution model actually requires a minimum amount of income from the customers living around that branch in order to sustain that branch and make sure that it's actually not losing money from the day it's built, right? In developing countries, that situation does not always exist, and so that's why you see in countries like the Philippines, banks, once you leave the city center, basically just disappear. You don't see them anymore. All you see is money transfer services, basically the local equivalent to Western Union. if even, right? 1 out of 3 municipalities in the Philippines don't have any sort of banking services available to it for this exact reason. So we think that our model is actually will actually lend itself very well to these countries, because basically the distribution is extremely cheap, right? You're using the internet, you're using people's mobile devices to have access, and then for the services, and then when it comes to actual the cash infrastructure, we don't own any of it ourselves. We're basically making partners with it, and as many partners as possible with networks such as convenience stores and on-the-ground remittance networks, whatever is available that's able to move cash around, and that's how we actually will reach the people at scale and offer the services that need them. So I'd say many countries in Southeast Asia kind of fit the bill. Indonesia actually looks very similar in demographic-wise to the Philippines in quite a lot of ways, and so that's something we're actually taking a close look at.
And you were saying, too, that those, talking about transactions at the 7-Eleven or an ATM, things like that, everything is quite secure.
Exactly. For many of our partner outlets, actually, the experience is instant, which is quite amazing to see. For 7-Eleven in particular, you get a unique barcode that's just yours. You walk over to the cashier, you pay for the amount that you're going to deposit the same way you would buy groceries, and the cashier simply scans the barcode and the money ends up in your wallet straight away. So it's extremely quick, and you're able to use the money in your wallet straight away to get whatever you need to get done.
And what about right now it's the app's only available on Android, correct?
It's actually also available on iOS, so both iOS and Android.
Oh, okay. And what about any competitors in this field? Is there anyone out there that, can even come close to what it is that you guys do?
I think that in terms of the competition, there's no one actually looking to build a service with quite the vision that we are looking to do, right? Both the telcos here have mobile wallets, which is useful, I would say, primarily for their existing customers. As they're really tilted towards basically creating an additional channel, sales channel for many of the services and a few other outside services. And some of the ecosystem is in general very young, and so some of the people that we see popping up, they would maybe target, maybe one service in particular, but nothing like what we're trying to achieve, where it's basically one place where you have your money and able to actually, get all of your financial errands done. And so I think we're pretty unique from that perspective.
Any final thoughts, Justin, before I let you go? This is obviously very beneficial to people in this region. Do you ever see it expanding over into more of the Western world or anything like that? Just any sort of final thoughts you could leave with our listeners.
Sure, and I think that what Coins.ph is offering and its vision for the future is really a platform built on blockchain that will actually allow people to transact with one another, whether it's with another individual or a merchant or a service, as easily as it is for people to fire up their computer browser and send an email, right? That's really what the benefit of blockchain offers. And I think that we're in a very good position to offer this technology and this convenience to to our customers here in the Philippines, but also in Southeast Asia. The issue of financial inclusion, that's not going to go away on its own, right? And at this current point in time, we're actually in a very good spot to be able to offer people the chance to, at least I would say, make that big jump from having being primarily based on cash to actually being able to do everything on your phones, right? And by doing so, we're able to actually raise the bar for everyone. We want to democratize financial services, and I think that the model that we have is number one, very scalable, and number two, actually will offer a tremendous social impact for the people that use it, because it will just allow people to be way more efficient and offer people a much more convenient way to make financial transactions. So I think that the future is very exciting over the next, obviously over the next year, but I think in the next 5 or 10 years, we expect very big things for ourselves. So it's a very interesting space to be.
And Justin, if someone is interested and wants to get started or just simply learn some more information, what is the best way or where to go to get that access for info?
Sure. You can head to our website, Coins.ph, or go to either the Google Play Store or iOS Store, download the app. It's extremely easy. The app name is exactly the same, just Coins. It says Coins Wallet in the App Store. Download the wallet. It's free. You can, it's extremely quick to sign up. Signs in a few seconds, and feel free to check it out. I think that we're making ourselves useful to the point where even if you did have a bank account, you would still use our services. I mean, I do. I have a bank account, and I still regularly use my Coins account, and I think that's kind of where we want to build the platform to be, where it doesn't matter what you have available to you. We actually want to be the compelling solution, because it's just far more convenient and time-saving to have your money in one place rather than spread around multiple mediums.
Okay. All right. Is there any other further thoughts or information that, anyone who's interested in getting involved in this should know, or that could perhaps help them out a bit?
Getting involved from what perspective?
Just to signing up to getting an account, or, just kind of knowing the lay of the land or the best way to use the services to get the most out of it.
Oh, I see. I think once people sign up or download the app, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think we didn't touch. I'm not sure how interesting it is, but obviously that when it comes to money, there's a bunch of compliance issues that you have to deal with as well. That's exciting topics to talk about, I guess. but also, yeah. For us, I would say compliance. We treat compliance fairly uniquely in the sense that we kind of gather information as people go along. I would say from a traditional, if you're talking about the way that you would traditionally sign up for a bank account, right? You go into the branch, you sit down, you get slapped with a ton of papers that you all have to sign. When it comes to apps like ours, we definitely don't want to do that, because otherwise no one would want to sign up with us, and we present them with a million forms, right? We actually tier that process so that we're gathering information, necessary information on the customers as they go along, right? If it's a new customer that hasn't transacted at all, low risk, right? They can use the basic services. They don't need much information. If they use it more, then obviously we will need to gather more information. So by doing this, we actually make the experience a lot more friendlier for the customer, because we're kind of tiering it as in a way that they can see it's like, oh, if I do this, I can get this extra service. If I do this, I can get this extra service. So we're making sure that the barrier to entry is very low, and then only for the people that want to really ramp things up and use it a lot, and we actually go through and dedicate resources to processing the extra information that they send us.
Excellent. And I love that it's user-friendly for just about anyone. I mean, just looking at the website and kind of playing with the apps and things like that, like you can tell it can be used by anyone. I mean, from myself to my mother could probably handle it. So I think that's
right.
important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we want to make it that way, because not everyone's a Bitcoin enthusiast and knows how the blockchain works. Right. Not everyone's an early tech adopter. We have people that are like 50 years old using this because they find it difficult to get out of the house, and they have to travel for like 45 minutes to the nearest bill payment center just to pay their bills every month. Those are the kind of people that we want to build the app for, because we want to make it usable by them as well. And so the lower the barrier and the more kind of friction points we remove for the customers, the better for everyone.
Well, this is absolutely just awesome information, Justin. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see where you all go and take this, and I think it's a great service you're offering, some ease and access to parts of the world that, maybe it's a little bit more difficult to make those types of transactions as well as safely. So I want to thank you for your time and this awesome information. Justin Leow, Head of Business Operations at Coins.ph. Justin, we look forward to watching where you go and where you grow. Please keep us posted and informed on anything new that you all are coming up with.
Of course. Thanks so much for the time this morning as well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. All right. Take care, Justin.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more. A service as easily as it is for people to open, fire up their computer browser and send an email, right? That's really what the benefit of blockchain offers. And I think that we're in a very good position to offer this technology and this convenience to our customers here in the Philippines, but also in Southeast Asia. The issue of financial inclusion, that's not going to go away on its own, right? And at this current point in time, we're actually in a very good spot to be able to offer people the chance to, I would say, make that big jump from having being primarily based on cash to actually being able to do everything on your phones, right? And by doing so, we're able to actually raise the bar for everyone. We want to democratize financial services, and I think that the model that we have is number one, very scalable, and number two, actually will offer tremendous social impact for the people that use it, because it will just allow people to be way more efficient and offer people a much more convenient way to make financial transactions. So I think that the future is very exciting for the next, obviously for next year, but I think in the next 5 or 10 years, we expect very big things for ourselves. So it's a very interesting space to be.
And Justin, if someone is interested and wants to get started or just simply learn some more information, what is the best way or where to go to get that access for info?
Sure. You can head to our website, Coins.ph, or go to either the Google Play Store or iOS Store, download the app. It's extremely easy. The app name is exactly the same, just Coins. It says Coins Wallet in the App Store. Download the wallet. It's free. You can, it's extremely quick to sign up. Signs in a few seconds, and feel free to check it out. I think that we're making ourselves useful to the point where even if you did have a bank account, you would still use our services. I mean, I do. I have a bank account, and I still regularly use my Coins account, and I think that's kind of where we want to build the platform to be, where it doesn't matter what you have available to you. We actually want to be the compelling solution because it's just far more convenient and time-saving to have your money in one place rather than spread around multiple mediums.
Okay. All right. Is there any other further thoughts or information that, anyone who's interested in getting involved in this should know, or that could perhaps help them out a bit?
Getting involved from what perspective?
Just to signing up to getting an account, or, just kind of knowing the lay of the land or the best way to use the services to get the most out of it.
Oh, I see. I think once people sign up or download the app, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think we didn't touch. I'm not sure how interesting it is, but obviously that when it comes to money, there's a bunch of compliance issues that you have to deal with as well. That's exciting topics to talk about, I guess. but also important, yeah. For us, I would say compliance. We treat compliance fairly uniquely in the sense that we kind of gather information as people go along. I would say from a traditional, if you're talking about the way that you would traditionally sign up for a bank account, right? You go into the branch, you sit down, you get slapped with a ton of papers that you all have to sign. When it comes to an app like ours, we definitely don't want to do that, because otherwise no one would want to sign up with us, and we present them with a million forms, right? We actually tier that process so that we're gathering information, necessary information on the customers as they go along, right? If it's a new customer that hasn't transacted at all, low risk, right? They can use the basic services. They don't need much information. If they use it more, then obviously we will need to gather more information. So by doing this, we actually make the experience a lot more friendlier for the customer, because we're kind of tiering it as in a way that they can see it's if I do this, I can get this extra service. If I do this, I can get this extra service. So we're making sure that the barrier to entry is very low, and then only for the people that want to really ramp things up and use it a lot, then we actually go through and dedicate resources to processing the extra information that they send us.
Excellent. And I love that it's user-friendly for just about anyone. I mean, just looking at the website and kind of playing with the apps and things like that, you can tell it can be used by anyone. I mean, from myself to my mother could probably handle it. So I think that's
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we want to make it that way because not everyone's a Bitcoin enthusiast and knows how the blockchain works. Right. Not everyone's an early tech adopter. We have people that are 50 years old using this because they find it difficult to get out of the house and they have to travel for 45 minutes to the nearest bill payment center just to pay their bills every month. Those are the kind of people that we want to build the app for, because we want to make it usable by them as well. And so the lower the barrier and the more kind of friction points we remove for the customers, the better for everyone.
Well, this is absolutely just awesome information, Justin. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see where you all go and take this. And I think it's a great service you're offering, it's an ease and access to parts of the world that, maybe it's a little bit more difficult to make those types of transactions as well as safely. So I want to thank you for your time and this awesome information. Justin Leow, Head of Business Operations at Coins.ph. Justin, we look forward to watching where you go and where you grow. Please keep us posted and informed on anything new that you all are coming up with.
Of course. Thanks so much for the time this morning as well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. All right. Take care, Justin.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
They're 50 years old using this because they find it difficult to get out of the house and they have to travel for 45 minutes to the nearest bill payment center just to pay their bills every month. Those are the kind of people that we want to build the app for because we want to make it usable by them as well. And so the lower the barrier and the more kind of friction points we remove for the customers, the better for everyone.
Well, this is absolutely just awesome information, Justin. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see where you all go and take this. And I think it's a great service you're offering, some ease and access to parts of the world that, maybe it's a little bit more difficult to make those types of transactions as well as safely. So I want to thank you for your time and this awesome information. Justin Leow, Head of Business Operations at Coins.ph. Justin, we look forward to watching where you go and where you grow. Please keep us posted and informed on anything new that you all are coming up with.
Of course. Thanks so much for the time this morning as well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. All right. Take care, Justin.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more. Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.